Good morning, artists. Welcome back to art class. This week we're beginning a new project. It is going to be a 2-week packet. My painting and my drawing students are doing 2 different projects this time. So this is for my painting class. So if you are in my drawing class, you need to go over to the drawing video for weeks 13 and 14, okay? Painting students, if you're here, we are going to begin with our packet and a quick review of it, okay? So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see your packet for this week. Here we go. Okay, so looking at our packet, this is weeks 13 and 14. We are doing monochrome painting or monochromatic painting. You guys will be creating your own unique original monochrome drawing or painting. And the purpose of this is for you guys to recognize and understand the relationship between tints, shades of color, to create this piece, okay? So we have to understand first the difference between a shade and a tint and hue, and all those definitions are going to be found inside of your packets, okay? So we'll go ahead and go down. As usual, you can return work online or in person. Here's our vocabulary for this week. You guys will be reviewing these words. So color, objectively, is the element of art. So one of our 7 elements of art that is produced when light hits an object and reflects back into our eye. So that is what color is. Hue is the actual physical color that we see. So it's the colors that are reflected off. So it's primary and secondary colors such as orange, red, yellow, blue, violet, green. These are all considered hues. But other colors can be mixed with them and they can be mixed together and create different things. They would still be considered hues. A tone is the relative lightness or darkness of a color. So light blue compared to dark blue is the determination of the tone. Tint refers to any color or hue of a mixture of pure colors with white. Okay, so the lighter, we make it lighter. Pastel colors are generally tinted colors. So these are colors that are tinted white. They're made lighter. Shade is a hue or mixture of pure colors to which only black is added. So tint is when we add white, and shade is when we add black. It darkens the color, and but the hue remains the same. So it's still the same color. So if I add black to dark, or if I add black to green, it still is green. It's just dark green. Value, we've discussed, is also falls into the 7 elements of art. It defines how light or dark a color or a hue can be. So on a value scale, how light or dark something is going to be. And color theory is the art of combining colors based on the color wheel. So when you mix colors, when you mix red and blue and you get purple, this is through color theory. And these are those are just the definitions. I want you guys to learn them, understand the difference, because you're going to need to know the difference between color and hue and tone and tint and shade to be able to do a portion of this project, okay? So what is monochromatic art? We're going to look at it in this video. Your guys' packets don't have color, but you can still kind of get an idea of what we're looking for through the videos. If you're watching the video, you can see the images. In this, you will see that I have a few different colors. It's predominantly, I think a lot of people stick with the blues, but you can do it with any shade. You'll see this piece here with the mountains fading into the background. This one with the light fading into the different pinks. This one has 2 hues. It has a pink in the background and a blue in the front. And then this one has a lot of white and shadows on these jellyfish. This is monochromatic painting. It's a piece of art that is created using only one color or hue. So like I said, this one down here has 2 colors. It's a background, so that's fine. But we're aiming to have one color. You guys pick one hue. So if you're going to use green, you make a variation of greens using that color. Okay. It can be different shades, but it should ultimately have one base color. It's used to basically create a dramatic effect, or a level of simplicity in art. So simple, easy to look at. It can be used in different shades of color, or by definition, by definition, it should have one color. Okay. Monochromatic color schemes are derived from a single hue of one color, extended extended out using the different shades and tones and tints. So, in other words, you are gonna take one color and you're gonna mix it with water or mix it with black to create different colors, different tones and tints of color from your one color. It's basically used to provide a strong sense of visual coercion and help support communication through objects through this one color. In other words, you're going to choose a subject or an image, whatever you guys are going to be drawing or painting, for your piece, and you're going to want this color to express the overall mood of it. So if you're going to paint a woman crying in the rain, you're gonna pick probably a color that's symbolic of that. You're probably not gonna pick yellow, because yellow is considered to be a bright and cheerful color. You'd probably pick something more along blue or purple, something that has more of a sad tone to it. Okay. I did put some examples in here. For example, a deep red rose is likely to have a romantic mood to the piece, while a face glaring at the viewer is the same color and tones, but can come across more angry and frightening. So your image is directly coordinated with the color. On the other hand, you could also have images that contrast with your color. So if you have a bright yellow smiley face, it can be seen as joyful and happy. But if you do the same image in dark blue with a black background, it could have a much darker mood, almost sinister, even though it's a smiley face. So it really just depends on how you do it. The subject and the colors work hand in hand, work together to create the mood. Colors have their own meanings, and I know we've discussed this a little bit before, and can express a variety of different moods and expressions. So really be careful when you guys pick your subject and pick your color that you want to use, your hue, before doing your overall piece. So here's our project outline. We're going to quickly run through this. You guys should have a basic understanding of what monochromatic art is, as well as with going through these notes, we're going to have a better understanding of what hue and shade and color, what all of those mean. We're going to start by reviewing our notes, which we've done in our packet, and we're going to do our best to remember the characteristics of monochromatic art, which is using one singular color scheme with varying tones and value and contrast. So to begin our whole project, the first thing you're going to need to do is decide what you want to paint. So this can be anything you want. You're going to make your choice on what it is that you want to paint for your project, your subject. You don't have to have that decision today. You can toss around a few ideas. You can draw some out and practice painting a few. I have smaller pieces of paper for my in-person students who want to be able to go ahead and practice. Otherwise, at home, you can practice on your own. This image can be realistic. It can be a cartoon. You can even do something abstract, whatever you prefer. You just have to make a decision. What is your subject going to be? Your next step is going to be selecting a hue. So that is picking a color that you're going to use for your overall project. So you're going to have your paint palettes, and you're going to pick one of these handy dandy pretty colors, and you're going to make a picture out of that. You could also mix colors, so reds, make pinks, all kinds of stuff with watercolor. We're pretty much going to be using the main primary and secondary colors, and then blending as we go with with water to make lighter tints instead of white, and we're going to be using black to make the darker tones. Okay. Then we are going to go ahead and create our color palette. So we're going to skip past a little bit of this really quickly. And I have in here creating your color palette. Okay. And we're going to kind of run through an example of this. So creating your monochromatic color scheme by using one hue or color repeated in a variety of tints, shades, and tones. You can increase the variety to keep things from getting boring and varying the values and saturations. So we want to be able to have as many different colors and patterns and schemes using this one hue, okay? So step one, you're gonna pick your color. So in this one, we're gonna use cadmium orange is the color that they used in our example. Using this color, they're gonna create varying tints by adding more and more water to the watercolor paints. Or add white if we're not using watercolors. I know some of you at home have used acrylics, and that's fine. You would add white rather than water. But if you're using the watercolor paints, we add water opposed to white. So creating a variant of tints, we're going to create a varying tints by adding more water to the watercolor paints. Okay, so here's our tints. They started with a cadmium orange and little by little added more and more water until they had pure white. And for pure white, you guys can just use the plain paper. You don't have to fill it in, okay? So you should have the same number of squares when you're making yours. And in your packets, I did leave you with a page that shows how to do it, how to set it up. You're welcome to paint directly on this paper, but I do recommend using a piece of, here we go, a piece of watercolor paper. So just draw this onto here and do the same thing, okay? The more water you add, the lighter the color will become. Then after that, you're gonna create varying tones. So the first step you're gonna do in creating your color scheme, your palette, is you're gonna pick your color. You're gonna create the tints by adding more water to each step to make the color lighter. Then you're gonna move on to step 3, which is creating tones. And you're gonna add small amounts of black with lots of water to create a gray tone. So tones, we want to add a little bit more to it each time, okay? We don't want it to be black, we want it to be toned. So we're going to make a gray using water and black. So a lot of water, a little bit of black will make a gray tone to add to our color. And by the end of it, you should have just gray, a neutral gray, okay? Then we're going to move on to the final section, and it's going to be shades. You are going to add pure black to the shades. So you start with just adding a little bit of black, and you get a slightly darker color, add a little bit more pure black. So this is very thick black paint that you guys do. There's not a lot of water added to it, and you just add a little bit more each time until you get to a pure black, okay? And that is going to end up making your whole color palette. So you're going to draw your color palette. You can either paint directly on the paper, or you can add it and redraw it on a piece of watercolor paper, okay? So that you can go ahead and create this palette for your guys' project. I want you to use the color that you're using for your project. So if your project is going to be a blue monochromatic painting, I want you to use blue in your palette. This will give you an opportunity to practice using the color that you need to use for your project, okay? So going back up, we're gonna look at the rest of our outline for the project. So you'll complete your watercolor palette, okay? It will be composed of 6 tones, 6 tints, and 6 shades. So using the painting paper and pencil, so you'll finish that, and then you'll use the painting paper and pencil to go ahead and lightly sketch out your design onto the paper. Don't make it too dark. It makes it hard to erase. It makes it hard for the paints to cover up. Lightly draw out your image, your subject onto your watercolor paper. Students in person will be provided with the larger watercolor paper, and students at home can continue working on the paper that they've been working on. And then at that point, you're painting. So you'll use the watercolor paints, same hue, adding less water and more black to get varying tones. And you'll get darker and bolder colors. Again, if you're at home using acrylics, you can add white and black to create different tones and tints. And you'll begin painting. And this needs to have a variety and of varying tones and tints in it, guys. So I don't want just one solid green painting, all one color of green. It needs to have a varying of tints and a varying of tones. It needs to have darker parts of green, lighter parts of green, if green's the color you're going to use. Whatever color you're using, it needs to be light and dark in different sections, okay? It's going to be worth a total of 40 points. So your color palette's going to be worth 10 points. That's your practice. That's how you're going to get going on this. And then your monochromatic painting is going to be 30 points. Okay. So your final piece is going to be worth 30 points. So that's going to be a total of 40 points. It's a big project. Make sure you guys take your time, do a really good job, give me a lot of different levels to your painting. Okay. And that will do it for this packet. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up your guys's bell work for this week. Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up your bell work now. Here we go. So bell work week 13, it's going to be moods of art. So shown below are 3 different monochromatic images. Okay, these are 3 different monochromatic paintings, very similar to what you guys are going to be doing. Tell me, I want you, what you guys' assignment is to tell me, based on their color and on the subject, what do you think the mood of each image is and why? So look at the 3 images. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can see them. Here's the first one. I want you guys to look at it, look at the subject, and look at the overall color scheme, the hues that are being used, and tell me, what do you think the mood of this piece is? And you're going to do that for all 3 pictures, and why you think it's that. There's no wrong answers. It's what feeling, what mood, what vibe do you get off of this piece of art? So here's the first one. Here's the second one. And here's the third one. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you too. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had to talk to another teacher for a moment. Anyway, here we go. So those are the 3 images. You're just going to tell me the overall mood and why you think it has that mood, okay? So go ahead and review these images. You can pause and get a closer look at them. That's all fine. You can just write it down on a separate piece of paper and send it to me, or you can type it in the email, whatever works. And again, it can be submitted online or in person. Other than that, that is your guys' project. We're going to be working on it over the course of the next 2 weeks. Before you begin working on your final project, you need to make sure you have your color palette complete.
The math and fine arts department, please escort your students to the buses at this time.
All right. Well, that's my cue to go ahead and
The pavilion.
That's my cue to go ahead and let you guys go.
To the buses at this time.
So you guys have a great day, and do your best. Like I said, make sure you complete your color palettes first before you begin your final project. I should not be getting final projects before I've received a color palette, okay? All right, have a great day, you guys, and I look forward to seeing what you'll create.